Pythagorean Theorem. This video, created by Math GPS, is for Texas 8th grade math and correlates to Common Core standards for 8th grade as well. This video content relates to right triangles. Can you find right triangles in the pictures? Right triangles are found in many places. The theorem we will study is the cornerstone for architecture, construction, and future math courses such as high school geometry and trigonometry. The theorem is named for the Greek mathematician Pythagoras, who was born around 570 BC. Right triangle attributes. Every right triangle has one right angle and two acute angles. The right angle measures 90 degrees. The right angle may be shown with a square inside the triangle figure. Opposite the right angle is the longest side of the triangle. The longest side of the triangle is the hypotenuse. The shorter two sides are called legs of the right triangle. The Pythagorean theorem is a rule. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. This theorem applies only to right triangles. What are A, B, and C? A and B represent the legs of the right triangle. C always represents the hypotenuse or longest side of the right triangle. Leg A measures 3 units. Leg B measures 4 units. The length of the hypotenuse, C, is unknown. We substitute the leg measurements for variables A and B in the theorem. The exponent 2 tells us to multiply the base number times itself. 3 times 3 plus 4 times 4 equals the hypotenuse squared. 3 times 3 equals 9. 4 times 4 equals 16. Next we add. 9 plus 16 equals 25. To solve for C, the length of the hypotenuse, we take the positive square root of each side of the equation. The positive square root of 25 is 5, so the length of the hypotenuse is 5 units. We can justify the theorem and our answer using an area model. The red square represents 3 squared, the blue square represents 4 squared, and the green square represents 5 squared. 3 times 3 equals 9 square units, 4 times 4 equals 16 square units, and 5 times 5 equals 25 square units. When added, 9 plus 16 equals the length of the hypotenuse squared, 25. Let's try some problems together. Problem 1. A men's volleyball net is anchored to the ground. The pole stands 8 feet tall and the net is anchored 6 feet from the base of the pole. What is the length of the guy wire? Identify the two legs of the triangle as A and B. Identify the hypotenuse as C. The hypotenuse is the longest side of the right triangle and is always opposite the right angle. The Pythagorean theorem can be used to find the hypotenuse. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Substitute the lengths that are identified in the story. Now square the substituted values. 6 times 6 equals 36. 8 times 8 equals 64. Add. 36 plus 64 equals 100. Determine the square root of each side of the equation. The positive square root of 100 equals 10. The length of the guy wire is 10 feet. Problem 2. The width of a rectangular frame is 5 inches and the diagonal length of the frame is 13 inches. What is the length of the frame measured in inches? Identify the two legs of the right triangle as A and B. Identify the hypotenuse as C. The hypotenuse is the longest side of the right triangle and is always opposite the right angle. The Pythagorean theorem can be used to find the missing measure of the rectangle length. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Substitute the measures that were identified in the story. Now square the substituted values. 5 times 5 equals 25. 13 times 13 equals 169. To isolate the b variable, subtract 25 from each side of the equation. 25 minus 25 equals 0. 169 minus 25 equals 144. b squared is equal to 144. Now we determine the square root of each side. b is equal to 12. The length of the rectangular frame is 12 inches. Problem 3. Triangle JKL is an isosceles triangle with legs measuring 15 inches and a base measuring 12 inches. Determine the height of the triangle to the nearest tenth of an inch. Identify the two legs of the right triangle as A and B. Identify the hypotenuse as C. The hypotenuse is the longest side of the triangle and is always opposite the right angle. The Pythagorean theorem can be used to find the missing height of the isosceles triangle, side B. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. What is the value of A? A represents 1/2 the length of the isosceles triangle base. So A equals 6. We can now substitute 6 for A and 15 for C in the Pythagorean theorem. 6 squared plus b squared equals 15 squared. Now square the substituted values. 6 times 6 equals 36. 15 times 15 equals 225. To isolate the b variable, subtract 36 from each side of the equation. 36 minus 36 equals 0. 225 minus 36 equals 189. b squared is equal to 189. Now we determine the square root of each side. b squared is somewhere between 13 squared and 14 squared. Use a calculator to find the square root of 189. To the nearest tenth, the square root of 189 is 13 7/10. The height of the triangle is 13 7/10 inches. Problem 4. A bridge is constructed of connected congruent right triangles. The slant height of each measures 20 feet and the perpendicular height of each measures 18 feet. What is the length of the bridge to the nearest tenth of a foot? Identify the two legs of the right triangle as A and B. Identify the hypotenuse as C. The Pythagorean theorem can be used to find the missing measure of the triangle's base. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Substitute the identified values. Now square the substituted values. 18 times 18 equals 324. 20 times 20 equals 400. To isolate the a variable, subtract 324 from each side of the equation. 324 minus 324 equals 0. 400 minus 324 equals 76. A squared equals 76. Determine the square root of each side. A squared is somewhere between 8 squared and 9 squared. Use a calculator to find the square root of 76. To the nearest tenth, the square root of 76 is 8 7/10. The base of each triangle measures 8 7/10 feet. What is the final step? Multiply 8 7/10 times 6 to calculate the length of the bridge. The length of the bridge is 52 2/10 feet. Texas 8th grade students must use the Pythagorean Theorem to solve problems. This video was produced by Math GPS and may be downloaded from our website. Thanks for watching.